Hello and welcome to Honest Faith Conversations. As always, I am your co-host, Miguel Covarrubias.
And I'm Kathy Covarrubias. And today, let's talk about Spider-Man Homecoming.
So, for those of you who have not yet seen it, there is a spoiler alert. We will be going into depth in the film. So, if you haven't yet been spoiled by YouTube videos or other things, or haven't seen it yet, then go watch the movie.
Yep. It should be in dollar theaters now, hopefully.
Soon. Do they still have dollar theaters?
I would like to think so, because in my life, I remember fondly going to dollar movies when I was a teen.
Yeah, I know, but that dollar movie theater in your hometown has closed.
Yeah, well, that's my hometown. That's not to say that other people's hometown dollar movie theaters have closed.
I don't think they still exist anymore.
Well, in Kathy's happy world, they do.
Okay. Well, let's move on to our review and summary section. We'll do our summary first, and then we'll do our reviews.
Okay.
All right. My brief summary is we have Peter Parker returning after Captain America Civil War, which is technically Avengers 2.5. And so we kind of have this kid who, still in high school, who goes about his life dreaming of a better life and wanting to be bigger and better than he already is. And some things ensue, and you have a villain that,
Some things ensue.
Some things ensue.
Okay, my summary. There's Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, is trying to be the best teen that he can possibly be. And of course that means trying to put too many things into his life all at once. And life gets chaotic, as things do when you try to jam-pack too many things at once. He likes this girl who then, spoiler alert, finds out her dad is actually the villain that he's been fighting all along. He's upset with Iron Man because Iron Man's trying to be a dad figure and he's all like pouty. And then Iron Man takes his suit away, and then he decides he's still gonna fight. And then Miguel's shaking his head at me.
It's too much.
No, it's not too much. And then he wins the day.
Summary.
And then he wins the day. How about that? I'll just stop.
And then. This is a horrible run-on sentence. My writer sensibilities are offended.
I am not writing it down. I'm speaking.
Oh, I know, but this is still my writer. That run-on sentence went on way too long.
Oh, whatever.
No more and then. So my review is probably one of the better Spider-Man movies we've seen in a while. I don't think that it's better than Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, although Spider-Man 2 for me is definitely one of the quintessential Spider-Man films. Primarily because I think that Tobey Maguire just did a fantastic job as Peter Parker.
We're not reviewing his. We're reviewing
No,
his
I think that Tom Holland is a better, well-rounded, all-around both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. That he's definitely both a better character. Where Spider-Man is supposed to be Peter Parker in a suit.
Yeah.
And so, whereas when the older Spider-Man did their things, was that Spider-Man was Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man out of a suit for Andrew Garfield, and then Tobey Maguire was Peter Parker, and then was completely different Spider-Man with confidence in the suit. So Tom Holland was very good with both of those, and I think that Marvel has a contender for the best well-rounded villain out of their entire cinematic universe in Vulture. I think Sony and Marvel did a fantastic job with fixing a villain problem that they've had. Unfortunately, they didn't fix it for the Defenders or anything else recently. But
they're trying to divide the TV cinematic universe and the movie cinematic universe now, so that's probably why. But my review would be that I really, really enjoyed it. Like, I walked away and I said, wow, that was a great movie. I do feel that some of the bigger moments were spoiled by the trailers. But in all fairness, there wasn't too many, like, really big cinematic
moments. Yeah.
You know, those were it. But that's because Spider-Man is supposed to be your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and you know, is supposed to do those little things. But we'll get more into that later.
It was a character piece.
Yeah, yeah. And I do agree that the Vulture was by far the best, one of the best villains that Marvel has, next to Loki, because primarily we know more about him.
He has motivations.
Yeah, we can tell his motivation. We know what drove him to do, and it's understandable. Mm-hmm. But we'll go into more in that later.
And quite honestly, when it comes down to it, it really was maybe a few minutes of film that gave him the well-rounded characterness of being a villain.
Yep.
And I think that's what Marvel needs to learn from this movie was that
it just takes 2 minutes.
Just take a few minutes and give some backstory to your villain. Mm-hmm. Don't make them just villainy for the sake of villainy.
Yep. Villainy. Turning the mustache.
Twirling their handlebar mustache. So, as a youth minister, former youth minister now, watching this movie, the entire time I was like, this is very true to adolescence. And I was thinking, you know, if I was still in youth ministry, I would definitely be using this film because this is very, very true about adolescence, about teenagers. Mm-hmm. And it's, and you know, from all of the interviews and research that we have done on the movie, is that the director really enjoys John Hughes classics, wanted it to be very true about the teenage experience.
Yep, just like Breakfast Club is probably like the go-to teen 80s movie.
Yep. Breakfast Club and Pretty in Pink and 16 Candles and all of these things that apparently he forced his actors to watch before filming this movie, which I think Tom Holland did a great job of embodying both a Ferris Bueller and a what is his character in Breakfast Club? The
nerdy one?
Yeah, the nerdy one.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
The
Anthony
nerdy one.
Michael Hall's
Yeah.
character. So he did a great job of doing that, and so this was very much John Hughes' take on Spider-Man, as it were. So we have in this, you know, that Spider-Man is a teen going through teen things. That it's not just, you know, Peter Parker becomes a completely different person in the suit. It's Peter Parker in a suit.
Yeah.
He's still, you know, kind of bumbling. He's still kind of doing his Spider-Man thing and learning how to be a person, how to be Peter Parker in a suit. And I think that one of the biggest criticisms that people had about the movie was that it's very teenagery and that it is very much geared towards that, which, you know, Spider-Man
Makes
kind of always
sense.
has been.
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man's fan base primarily is kids and teens.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, he's the number one selling superhero. And it's because, you know, bright colors and, yeah.
Yep. And people the kids can identify him because they're like, that could be something that, I mean, as far-fetched as it is, it could be something that could possibly happen to them. Yeah,
exactly. And, I mean, this all fits in with the whole adolescent development idea for him, is that he is in that stage where he is trying things on, you know, very much in accordance with Eric Erickson's views of growth of adolescence. You know, he's trying on new identities. He's trying to figure out who his true self is. And that's pretty much what this movie is about, is trying to find out who Peter Parker really is. Mm-hmm. That is it the suit or is it the man, you know, behind the suit? And that's, you know, what Tony's getting into with him throughout the entire thing. That's what,
because that's a lesson that Tony had to learn.
Oh, that's what Tony had to learn. Tony was in the extended adolescence big time until that moment in the cave. That was his defining moment there.
Yep.
Where he was trying to figure out how to be a better human being. Yep. And then Iron Man 3 kind of explored that a little bit further about his growth from that child of the first Iron Man movie into Iron Man.
Yep.
So Which, getting rid of the arc reactor within him, it kind of felt like he was saying, I'm not Iron Man anymore. Kind of going through the whole Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2 thing.
Well, I thought for a second there that, because I think at that point in time, they were still in negotiations with Robert Downey Jr. and whether or not he was going to continue being Iron Man. So I think that was their, out, if there was going to be an out. He doesn't have the arc reactor anymore in his for a heart, so he can't be Iron Man anymore.
So this is something that I saw a lot when I was working with teenagers, with adolescents, is that they are constantly in the state of waiting, whether it be in a sense of waiting for their real life to begin, where they're constantly told, "Oh, your real life begins after high school." In order to stop them from being like those people who always look back on high school and think, "Oh, those were my glory days."
Oh yeah.
When I could throw a football and someone could catch it.
And I was a star quarterback and I won the state championship single-handedly.
No, I'm just thinking of Uncle Rico in Napoleon Dynamite, and so this is the way that teenagers are constantly told is that oh, your real life begins after this, when they're beginning their real life at that moment. Mm-hmm. They're forging the pathways that will begin to define the rest of their lives. Is that those are the neural pathways that begin to form in that time. And that's why it's really important for them to begin to do the things that they love to do, like drawing or writing or acting or any
science.
Of those other things. It's science, yeah. Or sports, if they enjoy doing sports. Yay, sports. Go do that thing.
Yay, team. And that's why it's so important, too, because they're developing that and their brains are still developing. That's why it's so important to not do drugs, kids.
I wasn't going to go there, but okay.
Yep, I'm going there. Well, but it's true. From a biological standpoint, your brain is still developing. And so if you're going to give a substance to a developing brain, it's not going to develop to its full potential. There's going to be things in its way that kind of hinder that. So
yeah, and that's why I don't agree with a lot of medication for mental disabilities for teenagers, because yes, a lot of it is you got to give them the tools first. If they can't handle it with the tools, that's when you should give them. Mm-hmm. It should be a last ditch resort for adolescents, because their brains are still developing, because it can be addict forming at that point. Mm-hmm. That's why so many churches go after teenagers in that time, is because that's when they start forming the neural pathways of how religion is supposed to be, how religion fits into their lives and stuff like that, which is why youth group was so important. But also the fact that this is also another thing that the church veered way off course in doing. That's why I never really liked Young Life and stuff like that, was because let's get the popular kids in here so that all the other kids will come in. And, this is what really, I think, why there's a problem now with churches maintaining attendance is this. I've talked about this before, because, every 2 minutes there needs to be an article about why millennials are leaving the church, but it's because kids were raised in youth group. That's what they understood church to be, was to be a place where there was loving and vulnerability and kindness for everybody, that everybody fit in, whether or not they were the weird kid or like Peter Parker, he was a nerd and, was smarter than everybody else, but, also had that Stark internship that took him away from...
Stark internship. I'm doing air quotes.
And so this is what I think that we've been missing out on with the church, is that we keep telling kids, oh, just have faith. Or all these other things. We use faith as a buzzword now, and it's completely devoid of its meaning, which, now it's meant to mean blind trust. And that's not what it is at all.
And it's used also for the opposite. Like, people use it mockingly now, too.
Exactly. And this is, we've forgotten about the presence of, I'm talking about the gift of presence.
Yeah.
That, just being there, being present in the moment of the here and now, that's the most important thing. And that we like, oh, faith think of tomorrow, think of heaven, think of your afterlife. And that's
Afterlife.
that's not what Jesus taught at all. Jesus said, I've come that you may have life and have it to the fullest. And that's here, and that's now. And that's, when you tell teens, oh, just have faith or anything else like this, you're basically telling them that their self is not good enough. Mm-hmm. And I think this is very much what Peter Parker is in this instance, is that he's got a little bit of that from Tony Stark, is that, oh, you're not good enough to be in the Avengers yet. Just be, be the kid and stuff like this. When, he really meant well. Yes, just be yourself. And just, be present in the moment and learn from that and grow up from that, because he himself had those moments that he needed to grow up.
Yep.
That it's just a matter of perspective. And I think that I'll come back to the church with a faith thing here, and when we go into the where should we go from here part. But I think that in essence, the biggest thing in this was Peter learning that the true hero is within. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it's very much.
It was inside of you the whole time.
Exactly, it's very much true, because it is very much part of where you're at, doing what you can where you're at. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very much important, that we need to tell teenagers that too, is that, it's important to be you, and be you in the moments that you're there. Well, because you're not going to be there anymore.
Not just teens. That's a good lesson for everybody.
It's a good lesson for everybody, yeah. But I think that was the theme of this movie, is being you in the moment that you have.
Yeah.
What you do with the time that's given to you.
And then also, too, to kind of piggyback off of that, your actions don't have to be grand in order for them to be good. For example, you don't have to be do this huge heroic feat in order to be seen as a great hero. You can save the cat out of the tree and you're still going to be seen as a good guy. So you don't have to go extend your resources in order to try to make a grand gesture. That also kind of plays into those promposals or whatever they're called. They're just getting out of hand.
Yeah, I know.
We don't need that. That's too grand. Anyway.
Well, when you get that right down to it, I mean, completely honesty in this, it's kind of because modern society has viewed prom as the gateway to your first time of having sex. And so it's basically the proposal to, hey, will you have sex with me?
I don't agree with that, but that's okay.
Well, think about it. That's a very nerdy way of doing it.
I know where you're getting that from, but I don't know. Speaking from experience in my own friend group, that was not the case.
Well, I know, because it's to each their own. But I mean, in the modern, very.
I would say it's not. I would say it's '90s idea.
'90s idea, yeah. Okay.
Yep. But
I'm old.
But Peter, as we talked about, he feels himself to be an outcast. He feels himself to be a loser, to not be super popular. Even though that is not what he really is. People keep trying to invite him to these things. Hey, come do this with us. Hey, I have a house party. Why don't you come and crash it? Hey, why aren't you coming into practice? People are searching for him. People are wanting him to be more involved in their friend groups and in their life, but he just shuts them out because he thinks that, waiting around in dark alleys in a spider suit is going to be more worthy of his time than, being around with his friends.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of funny how, everybody knows he's super smart. Everybody likes him. Everybody thinks he's a good guy, but he doesn't think that people see him that way. He puts himself, he makes himself an outcast.
Flash doesn't see him that way, but that's just because Flash. But I like how they made Flash not the big jock bully anymore. That he's just a normal kid who
just thinks he's a hotshot.
Yeah, makes Peter's life a living hell anyway. But and I think that's what most bullies are nowadays. Is that just a normal kid who is maybe being bullied at home or is misunderstood themselves, and they're trying to be seen as better than they really are. Yeah. Through their own way,
Well, and I think maybe Peter thinks in order to get a bunch of friends, he needs to be be more Spider-Man or to get the friends, but
Yeah.
his identity is secret. Like, how is he going to get more friends? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like the best way to become friends with somebody is to spend time with them. And so if they're going to invite you somewhere, if you're feeling lonely and somebody happens to extend an invitation out, like, sometimes you got to take it. Sometimes you got to, put pants on, throw your hair up, and just go outside and meet out with people. But anyway, that's my own personal idea. Sometimes you just got to put pants on.
Sometimes you just got to put pants on.
And then, like, when Peter is Spider-Man and he's going around and essentially waiting for this big grand mission again. Mm-hmm. Because he was part of a big mission and he kind of had a taste for that. And now he was really excited about that. He really enjoyed it. He thought, he played an important part. And now he's just hanging around, saving cats and getting churros, like, which I don't see as being a bad thing. I mean, I like churros, but especially free churros from an old lady. But
yeah, exactly.
But he just doesn't think that it's good enough. He doesn't think that it's grand enough. But what Iron Man was telling him all along, like, no, it's okay. You need to be the neighborhood Spider-Man. You need to be doing these small things because that's going to help you learn how to do the big grand things.
Exactly.
Baby steps, training wheels. And I think that maybe part of Spider-Man's hang up was that he thought that if he just sticks with the small things, like, people will think less of him.
Yeah.
But again, that's not the case. Again, you don't have to do these grand superhero gestures. Like, you don't have to take Cap's shield every single time.
Yeah, and I think this was a development for Tony as well, was that Tony did grow through this movie as well, learning that just because he's a young kid, he shouldn't just, dismiss him.
Yeah.
And I think that was both Happy and Tony's growth throughout this movie, was that, you shouldn't just dismiss them because of this, and yeah. Well,
and I think, too, that to kind of go off of that as well, I really think that Tony did a disservice to Peter by not acknowledging, like, hey, you gave me good feedback on, the illegal activities that are going on. I'm going to go ahead and take care of it. You don't have to worry about it. Like, that's all he had to say. Like, thank you for telling me. I will handle it. Instead of just saying, like, okay, thanks, go kid. Like, he kind of just dismisses him like it's not important. But it is important information. Yeah. So... And of course, this is Iron Man's personality. Like, he's, he kind of is dismissive to people he doesn't think are on his level.
Yeah, it's his ego that's getting in the way here. So,
but like,
which is his MO. So,
but it just takes like 2 seconds to acknowledge somebody. So that's another thing that we should take from this too, is if somebody's giving you good information and you're going to act upon it, acknowledge that they gave you good information and that you're going to act on it.
Yeah, exactly.
No matter what the information is. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about Vulture, too. We kind of talked a little bit at the beginning about him being one of the better villains in the MCU, and why he is one of the better villains. And I think why he resonated and why he was such a good villain is because we did see him go from being, like, a good blue-collar worker to being this criminal mastermind. And it wasn't just like an overnight thing. Like, yeah. Like we see when the incident happened, there was a bunch of like alien articles like left all over New York City. And so they were tasked to clean it up. And then all of a sudden, like, after they spent all of this money, getting all this big equipment, hiring all these people out, then like some like fringe group of the government comes in and says, sorry, we're taking care of it.
Damage control.
Yeah. Damage control. And I totally understand. I would be devastated too if I took out a bunch of loans, bought all this equipment, hired all these men to do a job that I was hired to do, and then all of a sudden it just was taken out from underneath me.
Yeah.
That would be emotionally devastating. That would be financially devastating, obviously. So I mean, it's totally understandable. We can see why he made the decision to become a criminal, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think what he could have done instead is maybe just, sold back all of the items. I know you can't get as much money in return, but at least pay off most of it. They did have that one truck. I'm not condoning criminal activity, but he could have just stopped, after that one truckload, after selling all that, because I'm sure that would have been a lot of money, and just been done with it, and paid off everybody's debts and just kind of gone about his way. But no, he, saw how lucrative it was and kept on, digging into it, and he kept on telling himself that, no, this is a good thing. I'm providing for my family. I am providing for everybody else's family, all of the workers that, I hired who are now underneath my wing. I am wing, because
he's a vulture. Yeah.
Sorry. I'm helping them out as well too. So he saw himself as the good guy. So I think that's what it is. When the villain actually sees himself as being the legit good guy.
Oh yeah.
He had good intentions.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of why people liked him.
Oh, I think there was that turn there when he shot the shocker with the wrong gun and killed him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very. He is, I think, one of the better villains that we've had in a while, and I'm sorry about my phone buzzing there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just wish that it hadn't turned into a revenge scenario for the Vulture. I feel like his family would have been plenty provided for. But, life happens and sometimes you become a villain, I guess.
Life happens and you become a villain. What was the line from Batman Dark Knight? Sometimes you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think Michael Keaton lived too long in that movie then. 8 years is a long time, according to that small text that everybody's freaking out about.
Oh, the one, because it's totally messing up everybody, what they thought the timeline was?
Yeah. So, anyway, which I don't think was that big of a deal. Where do we go from here? So, I really feel like the church has a very tenuous grasp of what truth really is. And I think that's because, for some reason, we've gotten off into this whole idea of being the 1950s and this idealized version of the 1950s.
The glory days.
Yeah, and things weren't great during the 1950s, if you remember. I mean, there was the Korean War and getting started into the Vietnam War and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm. Racism was... I mean, we still have racism, but if you think it's bad today, try living in the 1950s.
Yeah. It was, that's not what the church was. The church was a hospital and always will be a hospital for the spiritually infirmed. It's not about raising money so that you can keep the church doors open and, that this is a place where people can be spiritually healthy. And no, it's a matter of a place where people can come and be themselves without judgment, without, fear of reprisal, that it's not a place where they hope for a better tomorrow, but where people come together to create a better tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. And to create better people themselves,
exactly
to make yourself better.
That it doesn't need to be a grand gesture. It doesn't need to be changing the whole world in one step. It's small things. Mm-hmm. Because when you do those small things, they have a ripple effect that makes something bigger. And that's exactly what Tony was trying to say to Peter throughout the entire movie, was that, these small things make ripples to make a better tomorrow. Is that if you change the world for one person, that person is going to be changing the world for another person. There is a snowball effect in that. And there is, it's weird that we've gotten into this place where the church has become this, I don't know, country club for people.
Kinda, yeah. Yep, very into their current members. They say they want new members, but they don't really want new members because they treat the new members like strangers instead of welcoming like family like they should.
It's gotten really unusual, and I really encourage people to check out, if you're on Twitter or on Facebook, check out the hashtag #EmptyThePews. There are people telling their stories of why they left the church, and I think it's really important for people of all faiths to check it out. Recently, there have been some evangelicals who've been trying to hijack it to witness to people, which I think is cute in a way, but...
Well, and I think that it's the one thing that that I have noticed looking at the hashtag is that the majority of the people didn't leave the church because they didn't have faith anymore.
Yeah.
They left the church because the church
left them.
Yeah, or treated them poorly or treated other people that they loved poorly.
Well, and this is what I was talking about in that is they've lost the definition of what faith is. Faith is not blind trust. Mm-hmm. Faith is learning about something that you really want to have in the here and now, and you actively participating in making it here and now. Mm-hmm. And that's what, we've been trying to say all along through this, is that's what we've been doing, is we've been finding these pieces, articles of faith, these honest faith moments in these movies and these TV shows. And have we only done movies and TV shows so far?
We did a video
game. We did Fallout. But we've been finding those moments and trying to bring them into our reality and trying to make them actively take a role in trying to make them a part of our own reality. Mm-hmm. And speaking of which, that's the other point that we had here, was the be you and here and now. Is that doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It has to be you.
Yeah, if you can only save a cat from a tree, then, if that's the best that you can do, then that's awesome. Save that cat from that tree, even though that cat probably could climb down on its own and it's just being stubborn.
Yeah, be the best you that you can be in the moments that you have. Because everyone that you meet, this is, my evangelical Christianity upbringing speaking through me here, but you were meant to be there. You were meant to be in the moments that you're in, is that you witness through your life. That, if you're not being the best you that you can be, then you're doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. Is that life is meant to be lived. So go out and live it.
Yep. And don't worry about what other people think. Don't worry about the fact that, Steve, he can save 3 cats from a tree, but I only can save 1 cat from a tree. Like, that's great for Steve. That's awesome.
That's great. But he'll be mentioned in an algebra book one day. And then, that'll be the most fame that he'll ever get, is that algebra book where.
And if you want to better yourself so you can do those things, that's also great too. But don't worry about don't be upset if you can't do those grand things right away.
Well, and it takes practice. Mm-hmm. We're still not super great at podcasting, but we're getting better, I think.
Well, and it's same with love. It's really hard to love everybody. It's really hard not to be selfish, and it takes practice.
It does. It takes practice not to be stupid, selfish, and lazy. Mm-hmm. But I think all humanity is, and that's okay. We need to just admit to that fact and be us in the moments that we have.
Mm-hmm. Well, don't be stupid, selfish, and lazy. Say,
yeah.
Oh, that's me.
I'm just stupid, selfish, and lazy. It's just try to make yourself better. Yeah. Is try to be the best you can be through the moments that you have. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anybody thinks of themselves as stupid, selfish, or lazy. So, I think it's a matter of making yourself better by trying to be the best you that you can be. Like Peter Parker, he was using his gifts and talents the best he could. And that meant stopping the Vulture because nobody was going to listen to him at that moment.
But Tony was listening. Tony just didn't actually say, hey...
Well, he wasn't listening in that moment because Happy wasn't taking his call, because Happy was doing his thing with the moving day.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
What?
Happy really should have picked up his phone. And you would have thought, by the way, here's a big plot hole. You would have thought that plane would have had better security.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep.
Shouldn't there be a proximity warning or something going off in that plane that Iron Man would be like, hey, you need to get over there now?
I just find I understand that Tony is really big into, having robots do his bidding.
Outsourcing.
Yeah. But sometimes you just got to have a pair of actual people eyes on that thing. And I
Yeah.
think that it could have been avoided if there was actually pilots on the plane. You know what I mean? Well,
Exactly.
maybe not avoided, but at least they could have called out and said something.
Yeah, we need help, or yeah.
Yep. Sometimes people are better than robots.
Sometimes people are better than robots.
That should be a shirt. That should be our first shirt.
Our first shirt. Sometimes people are better than robots. All right, we'll make a shirt.
Maybe a mug.
Maybe a mug. Although I think you can only resonate with that sentiment after you've had coffee. So
Yep. Because a robot makes your coffee.
a robot makes your coffee.
I need coffee. Sorry, everybody.
So overall, I think that it was a great movie, despite some of the plot points that kind of fell through, like that one, and the weird moment where Peter Parker kind of looked like he was lifting nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it dampened that moment for me, and it was an important moment where he's trapped and he's hurt, and he's realizing that Spider-Man was inside of him all along. But then he gets up and it's like, oh, he's lifting nothing. That really looks like a prop piece to me. So
That's all right. I do have to say kudos to Marvel for actually finding an actor who because he's an actual gymnast. He you can see videos out there. He really does flips. He can do cartwheels. He does all that kinds of stuff. So kudos to them for actually, not just finding a popular face, actually finding somebody who
can
has
do some of
skills.
those things. Yeah, and when he did that lip sync battle with Sanjaya, I mean, just him doing Rihanna's Umbrella was fantastic. If you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. It's on YouTube somewhere, I'm sure. So, it's great.
Well, too bad they weren't able to find somebody with said skill set for Iron Fist.
Yeah.
He's getting better, but
Yeah.
There's
We'll
the-
talk about that in 2 weeks.
yes,
Speaking of which,
Yep.
send us feedback. You can call us at 720-372-3879. Let us know what your thoughts are on our upcoming media pieces. What your honest faith moments were in these things. If you have seen American Gods and would like to give us some feedback, and where you found an honest faith moment in American Gods
Oh,
season
by the
1.
way, again, just as another warning.
You're going to warn about the sex scenes again. We've done it twice. We don't need to warn them again.
It's burned in my eyeballs, Miguel. It is burned in my eyeballs. I can't forget it.
You need some eye bleach.
I do.
So American Gods is next week. We'll be talking about The Defenders in 2 weeks, which, I didn't like it as much as I thought I would, but it was still good.
It was definitely better than Iron Fist.
It was definitely better than Iron Fist, but there was way too much Iron Fist in it. And there was very much lacking hand puns.
Yes.
They needed more hand puns.
There was no hand puns. I mean, come on. The Iron Fist and the hand. Come on. There's so many opportunities there. Sorry.
I know. And
I'm
we're
upset
doing
about
the
it.
whole Phase 2 thing with what that Marvel did to kind of nod to Empire Strikes Back with hands. So be watching out about
All
hands
he had to
in
say
Phase 2.
was,
Yeah.
here, I'll give you a hand.
Or I need a hand. So, yeah. There could have been more hand puns. And then in 3 weeks, we were talking about Game of Thrones Season 7. They are not officially splitting it, so it's going to be a completely different season, which is Season 8, which will be the final season.
Oh,
So-
I don't know how they're going to jam-pack everything into just those, few episodes.
Well, it's 80 minutes tonight, so
80 glorious minutes or nerve-wracking minutes.
That's very true.
because-
then in 4 weeks, in a month, we will be doing Mr. Robot Season 1, which we just started Mr. Robot this week, and finding some good things in it. So if you have anything on any of those, please give us a call or send us an email, honestfaithconvos@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook or on Twitter, or you can also check out our website, which is thehonestfaith.com. And with all of that being said, we invite you to come and join the conversation.
Bye.